Hey, what's up, everybody? It is me, Sean Tank Top, and we're over here. It's a nice old Thursday. It's about 8 p.m. Chicago, Midwest fucking time on a Thursday. And I hope that you guys, if anybody is interested in this fucking awesome show, Lovecraft Country, like we are, like we have been on this channel since Sunday, since the opening fucking pilot episode, stuff like that. Welcome to Lovecraft Country Thursdays live stream. We're going to be doing these every Thursday from here on out till the end of the fucking season. And I'm super stoked. Hello to everybody out there. We are simultaneously casting on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook pages.
Dang.
We're spread. We're looking like a tentacled fucking
spreaders.
We're looking like a Lovecraftian monster of the internet right now, getting our tentacles and everything. And I am joined by my lovely cohorts, the Draces. What's going on over there, Draces?
Doing good. I'm pumped. I was like, we weren't necessarily sure we were going to do a live chat every week, and then we watched the pilot, and we're like, no, we got to do a live chat.
No, we got to do it. It was. I remember it's hard to know when a show is going to kind of like grab you, when it's going to fucking, you know what I mean? Like when it's really going to like take you, you know, and stuff. And so like, I think that once from the time after I started editing our reaction that we put out, you know, and shout out to everybody that's like watched our reactions and shit. I was like, man, I got a lot to say about this show. And then I jumped on the fucking subreddit, the Lovecraft Country subreddit, which is on that.
I got to get on that.
And we, you know, there's a lot of parallels, I think, that people kind of like, I think, fairly draw from this show and Watchmen and stuff like that. And I think that a point that you had made a lot, Morgan, was the fact that how the Watchmen subreddit was like the good internet.
It was my happy place. I'm hoping, I could see how Lovecraft Country subreddit would also be another happy place.
It's been fun. It's been cool. I mean, like, it's basically the whole thing. Like, people are just kind of pumped, and they're sharing a lot of theories, a lot of their own thoughts, and a lot of stuff that they're kind of finding out, because there is, as we've seen throughout the week, there's a lot to dig in with this fucking show and stuff like that. Another thing that we want, I'm sure that a lot of you guys out there have a lot of fucking things that you guys want to talk about as well. What's going on, Chance? What's going on, Thirst Officer? Everybody on there, RJ, Indie Villain. Oh, man. Oh, beautiful people. Goddamn right. Absolutely. That's a, when you're right, Indie Villain.
I put on a collared shirt and everything.
I know, right? Absolutely. I put on my best tank top. And look, I got my Hollywood mirror, which makes a cameo.
It does. Well, it does a little bit.
A little bit. And we'll talk about that. But just one, just like a couple of things off the top and everything like that. This is going to be like a little bit different from some of the other live streams that we've done in regards to shows, where we kind of have done like a kind of not exactly a scene by scene breakdown, but basically like a whole overview of the episode. It's not kind of what we're going to be doing. We're mixing the format up a little bit. We are going to basically kind of have like bullet points of where like basically talking points of which we kind of bring our own thoughts to and stuff like that. And we'll be keying those up along the bottom of the screen and stuff like that. Also, we're going to encourage anyone that wants to guarantee that we look at your comment or your question that you may have for us, or speculation, or something that you want to have highlighted towards the end of the live stream, because we're going to have like, you know, at the end, like, we're going to go through like all of our thoughts and stuff like that. And then, you know, we're going to have about anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes or something like that, where we kind of like, where we highlight some of our more interesting theories and some of our more interesting, comments and stuff like that we get throughout that. But if you want to guarantee that we get to those, throw us a little bit of money on the super chat. Any dollar amount will do. Also, a portion of those proceeds will be going to benefit Molasses Chicago, which is an amazing organization within Chicago that helps LGBTQIA plus Black youth within the city of Chicago, and it's one of my absolute favorite organizations to give to and stuff like that. It's
I'm wearing one of their founders.
There you go, fucking Lucy Stool.
Stool.
Absolutely.
Stool is one on their like board of I don't know.
Yeah.
She's up in there.
Oh yeah, she's all up in, they're all up in there. And so just so if you do shoot us a super chat, just know that a portion of that money is going to an absolutely incredible cause. You get to have your comment kind of like highlighted and stuff like that. We really get to gnaw on it and chew on it and talk about it and stuff like that. And it's going towards a really great cause. So anyone that's willing to do that tonight, we thank you in advance. And I'm sure we will shout you out at the end of it if we indeed have any. And then on that note, insofar as just like highlighting like queer, Black, like artists and stuff like that. We lost an amazing one today. Rest R.I.P. Rest in power to Chi Chi Devayne. Literally, like I think to me, one of my top five favorites. You know what I mean?
She had me when she got red for those, like, literally she got red for wearing dancing shoes. They were jazz flats, but those are dancing shoes, and she was dancing in them.
Oh my God! Right.
Sometimes drag is too mean for me.
Oh my God! Absolutely. I mean, like, and I just like, and I'll tell you what. I mean, today it was like just to me, like just an amazing performer, a beautiful spirit. Yeah. This is why you get your own home gym, because while I was working out and stuff like that, I just started thinking about her because I heard like within like an hour or two or something, and I pulled up that amazing lip sync that she did against Thorgy Thor.
Oh yeah,
like where she rips the pearls off and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm like lifting weights and like crying at the same time, which was like no. But then I loved it because I was like, this is why you get a fucking home gym. God, I could never do that in the fucking gym anywhere else.
Working out your feelings, working out.
Absolutely.
Your arms.
100%.
I usually cry at the gym, but for totally other reasons.
Right, 100%. But one thing I didn't tell the Draces about this, but because the other thing is, I don't know, spoilers. This show deals in a lot of dark material. It deals with racism in America, and that is, you know, I don't know, like people get like it's weird. We saw this when we did in our Watchmen coverage, where like people get butthurt when when you're talking about things in America, but they don't want you to talk about the shit that's actually going down in America and shit like that. And so we're going to get into that type of stuff, but I will say one of our favorite new characters from this show that we didn't see, because I think a happy place for me is watching racist cops get torn apart by monsters. So if things get too, so just so you know, if things get too heavy, if the realness of it gets a little too much on us, just somebody call out Blinky and we'll see.
Oh, Blinky! Blinky likes a good pork chop. That's what Blinky likes.
No. Just like, so if we need a little happy place, if we need a little reset, if the shit gets too real, just say like, do we need a Blinky moment? I think we need a Blinky moment, and we'll watch him eviscerate those pieces of shit that we had to deal with in this episode, and then we'll kind of start to move on. You know what I mean? Does that sound
back on the menu, boys?
Racist cops are back on the menu, boys. Oh my God, hell yeah! All right, well, so like I guess one thing that we'll kind of start off. Probably like the first thing that we'll kind of get to, I think, are just like the general thoughts about this show and about, because to me, like, or like what the episode is about. It's episode 1 of season 1. It's directed by Yang Demange. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but Damang. And it's written by the showrunner, executive producer Misha Green. And you know, like we'll be going through this a lot, like where I think that certain episodes will be, you know, like we'll be like, what was the thesis of this episode? To me, this episode was like, what is this show about? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like I think this is a thesis statement of some of the things that this entire show is going to get into, and so. I don't know, man. Like, so what were your general thoughts, like just very briefly, kind of about this first episode, would you say, guys?
To me, it really felt a little bit like a Lord of the Rings quest, where it's like pockets of like safety and comfort,
Mm.
and then just the perilous, dangerous road, and then a little pocket of safety and comfort, which goes south, and they gotta get back on the road. And it's, I don't know, it did seem very much just like the maps that the daughter was like drawing her.
Interesting.
Like,
One
yeah.
does not simply walk into
Yeah.
Artem.
It was almost, it's true though.
I mean,
Oh my God.
Seriously.
Although they
Yeah,
did
for
at
sure.
the end,
They
didn't
did. They're like,
they
"Eh, let's just
simply
walk
walked
in."
in.
Yeah, even though, well, I mean, it was like they had to go through like they were going through the bug with the weird fucking creepy white elves in the swamps and shit like that and falling. You know, they were having a hard time while they were walking through, but once they got there, you know what I mean? Like shit, I don't know.
It was so much like a D&D campaign. You had like
True.
like Atticus, he was like, who's the learned? Is that like who's, if you're super smart and you're like,
Is that a
you know,
mage?
a mage.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got your bard, who is Journey,
Uh-huh.
Smallwood's character, Letty.
100%.
But also she's also kind of a warrior. A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, like, definitely.
'Cause she's
Yeah.
the best at running.
She's the best at running. I mean, like, as far as like monster, no, well, like none of them killed a monster because I remember like
She killed the cop with the car. So that's killing a monster, right?
sort right, right, 100%. So, yeah, how about you, Dustin? What was the kind of your just overall kind of impressions, thoughts, or whatever, or just kind of like your opener for this?
Yeah,
thing?
it's a jam-packed show. There's a lot to it. You know, it's one of the reasons why we really loved Westworld, was there just like so many deep things that you can kind of get into and so many little Easter eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of this show that's very eye-opening, you know, for me as a watcher. And there's a
Sure.
lot that I even learned listening to the companion podcast, which I highly recommend.
Yes.
Nice.
If you are into this show, listen to the podcast. It's a quick, breezy hour, but it really gives you a lot more insight to the writer's room.
Yeah.
And then also it gives you like a little bit of parallel of what it's like. So the hosts are one of the people from one of the writers, the executive show producer, and a you know, self-appointed black horror nerd. Which is
hell yeah.
a really great way to juxtapose it. And it's super fun. It's breezy. It's, you know, a little bit irreverent, and like they're profane on it. So it's
good.
It's my kind of podcast.
Sounds like our kind of people. Like like nerdy profane. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's our bread and butter.
Shannon Houston's the writer, and she, like, one of her, like, she's like, when she's introducing herself, she's like, and I watch like one episode of season 3 of Buffy at least every single week. And I'm just like, oh wait, these guys are kind of like Scoobies, aren't they? It's kind of like
so.
a Scooby crew. So
I can
I'm
see
like,
that.
I see the.
So the showrunner Misha Green also wrote some episodes of Heroes, so I kind of get that sort of vibe.
Oh yeah.
You know, where like at the beginning, Heroes was a great show. It kind of went downhill fast, but you know,
I've never heard of a show doing that.
No, never. So I definitely get some of those vibes of like that excitement of like an ensemble. You know, I'm an X-Men fan, so count me in. You know, give me a
100%.
team. I love Scooby-Doo.
100%.
Buffy. Yeah, give me a team up. I'm in.
Totally.
Stranger Things. I'm in.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So like the Scooby crew. That's a good. I mean, I think that's a very adept thing. General thought, like kind of my general impressions, you know, about it. It's sort of like a thesis statement about the show, in which the show is kind of trying to, you know, and we said this on our initial reactions, and I think a lot of people are kind of on the same page as far as I've seen, where it's just like, you know, we're dealing with two different types of monsters. One way more terrifying than the other.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of juxtaposition, kind of balanced with kind of taking in, not limiting themselves to just like, not just Lovecraft iconography, but iconography of the age, like of like the kind of like the B sci-fi pictures of like the 1950s and stuff like that. There's just like all kinds of like super mad, you know, H.G. Wells and stuff like anything that if you were nerdy in the 50s, you were going to be consuming, shows up in that amazing fucking opening scene. And like, and then from there, it's, to me, it was an awesome example of like balancing a lot of plates and doing it really deftly. Like in the beginning part, you basically have like your, it's almost like a 1950s like Avenger thing. It's like this big war, it's like this big mashup of all of your type of like nerdy shit, and then you get like almost like a kind of a sweet Huxtable kind of like just highlighting just like a family like just full of black love. You know what I mean? Like there's just like a lot of that, like a good nest egg of that, and just getting to know the family. Then you get into like the hair.
We have to make you love them so that
yes.
Now we're gonna torture them on the road.
Yeah, no, that's
you're gonna be terrified for them.
Because then from that movie we go to like a fucking harrowing like Mississippi Burning like type of shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which is like the hardest stuff to get through in this show. And then we have like straight up no bullshit, like literally the cabin from Evil Dead, like at like horror comedy, type of like, and not pulling a single punch. You know what I mean? It's like, you want to see heads getting blown off? Awesome. You want to see fucking monsters punching through a fucking racist cop's chest? You got it. You know what I mean? Like it's all that. So I thought that was sort of like, they were kind of like being like, this is the smorgasbord of kind of stuff that we're going to be kind of feasting on throughout these 10 episodes. And I thought it was one of the stronger pilots that I've seen in a long time. Certainly insofar as like, this is our identity and this is kind of what the stuff that we're going to get into. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, that was my kind of general thoughts, and so I think what we can go through now, and that everybody in the comments, like, we might not catch them all, the ones that we do catch, but remember, if you do a super chat, we will save it, and we will absolutely address it at the end of the stream. But let's go on to our favorite scenes, our favorite scenes of the episode. I know we all got one or two. I know that I got one or two. But what would you guys say what was your favorite scene of the episode?
I mean, hands down, it's got to be the Baldwin sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just, they knew, because you just come from this beautiful, like, okay, black joy, black love, making love with your wife in a bed, to this amazing block party, which is like
incredible block party. Absolutely right.
Good vibes, happiness,
absolutely,
and like safety and
music, like, and finger blasting and all the good things in life. You know what I mean?
You're breathing easy and you're like, this show is just a delight.
Yeah.
And they knew they were gonna put us through it. So really, you need Baldwin to ease you, because his voice. It deals with tough subjects, but he like makes you think, but also like, I don't know. I just thought it was such a smart choice to do that
100%
over that montage until we get to like the real deep
into the shit of it. Shit. Yeah, 100%. Right.
But
well,
I mean,
it was sort of being like, we are now passing through this other realm, because he's talking about reality, and I got an interesting little kind of, not theory, but just like an interesting kind of takeaway from like that very specific quote that he's talking about. But Morgan, go ahead.
Morgan was leading into that Baldwin thing, and so for me, the scene that really stuck with me the most was the scene, it was the block party scene.
Oh wow!
And honestly, we get to meet Ruby, and so we have Ruby and Letty, having a whole conversation where. And this is something that was pointed out to me in the companion podcast that really I had a hard time kind of struggling with recently, because, clearly we're going to be talking about this as three white people. So a lot of
spoilers, we're white, everybody.
Surprise. And so a lot of the themes that are the underlying themes are things that, maybe we haven't personally experienced. And one of the things that scene really hit home with was the family dynamic of having a light-skinned sister who can easily pass into the white world.
Right,
and
100%.
And so the writers were like, oh, like, look, we love Journey, but she's a light-skinned girl. We can't have a light-skinned girl in this role. And they actually had a big argument in the writers' room about having a light-skinned girl who has this idea of like being like, oh yeah, well, you can be a dreamer when you have that privilege of being lighter and being more accepted.
100%.
And it really kind of stuck with me, because I remember reading recently you know, where who's the now I'm blanking on her name right now. The actress who played Gamora. I'm having a nerd.
Zoe Saldana. Zoe
Yeah,
Saldana.
she was like saying something where she shouldn't have taken the role of Nina Simone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she didn't feel that she was black enough.
Yeah.
Or dark enough. Dark enough, I think, is she wasn't the right shade.
Sure.
And to play that role, you had to be a truly black woman.
Yeah, 100%.
And that was something that really changed my perspective on viewing this show through the lens of these characters. And it really gave me such an insight into how they wrote the characters, and it just made that whole dynamic between the two sisters, and it made it so much more poignant of why Ruby is so mad at her.
Not only did she run out on the fucking funeral, not only is she just like kind of egalitarian, you know, because she's Journey Smollett Bell, she's a fucking goddess on two legs.
Yeah.
And she kind of like waltzes through a bunch of these different scenarios, and you know, you can feel that tension. Even if the funeral hadn't happened, that tension probably would have existed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's even like compounded by, there is a thing where it's like the older sibling versus younger sibling. I'm like a younger sibling. And there is sort of a thing where like the older sibling is like, you get all the brunt of like all the rules, all the responsibility. You're kind of the starter child, and you get it more.
You're the guinea pig, baby. Like they're trucking it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it chaps the older sibling's ass. That like younger siblings are like, wow, I'm gallivanting across the country. Oh, my parents just gave up on bedtime by the time I was 9, like all that shit. And compound that with colorism, where she's like, oh, you think you can just go get a job downtown? And she's like, yeah, I can.
Yeah.
And maybe she could. And like, so it's just kind of like every interaction is just that more compounded by the whole like colorism aspect of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, like that was one. I think that's why it's important to like, that's why it's really cool to have like these companion podcasts and this companion material and stuff like that.
Or like read Black voices like in media and criticism when you engage like. I make a point like, I'm like, I need to like listen to what other people think about this thing. Because I'm like, I know what my little white experience thinks about it, but man, it's like so much deeper because you got to hear it from. There's just so many.
And again, you would not that detail. It speaks to like why it's important for, we deal with the brunt of a lot, like if you're on the internet, you're aware of like these people like, well, we're this GW blood. No, it's like the thing is the fact that like that's why you want that's why it's Wonder Woman, for example, you have a woman director handling. They are thinking about this thing in a way that a male white cis director would not be thinking about it. They are Misha Green, who wrote the pilot, who wrote most of the episodes of this show, and is like the thing, like she is heading up a group of creators and the writing staff that is thinking about the shit in this way from that perspective, and that's what makes it all the richer. You know what I mean? So I think that's
and that plays a lot to the duality about this. We've been talking a lot about the duality of like actual like straight up monster horror and actual daily horror of the existence of racism in this era. So that was really cool to me. Yeah,
100%. I was thinking about it, because I think that there's a lot there's a shitload of strong scenes in this episode. Like your nerd brain could go towards the opening. Your fucking horror fan, like your big fucking horror bloodletting boner, could go for the fucking ending. But I thought what was a really simple and elegant and poignant kind of filmmaking kind of move, I thought was it was low key. Not low key. It was my favorite scene. Was the scene in which Atticus and everybody is driving before they get to the diner that was formerly safe, and they see the fire station.
Yeah.
And that was when they have that scene in which they're driving by and like all the music just kind of bleeds out from like the thing. They have the radio on, BB King is playing and stuff like that. We've talked about how I believe that there's like, there's occasionally like there's the male gaze, there's the female gaze. This was the black gaze. Yep. Like this is where me,
I was there and I walked down the street. I'd be like, puppy.
Yeah, you're like, oh, look at the puppy.
That would be my mind. And
100%. And so like that when that scene went down, it was like we were in his head, and it's what happens in America to this day whenever there is a cop, somebody who can exercise. Or even just like straight up white people. You could be walking your dog, not having on a leash, and somebody gives you shit for it. You call the cops. That cell phone is a gun. And so it's one of those, like they were able to just so effortlessly and simply kind of put you into the mindset of Atticus at that moment. Just like I'm still driving, I'm still going where I gotta go, but I'm clocking this and I'm making sure that I know what it is. And so that. It was such a simple, beautiful little moment. Like not beautiful, obviously, but it was just so effortlessly kind of done. And everybody, even if you didn't think about it for a long time, knew and felt what they wanted you to feel in that fucking scene. And so that was my favorite scene for the episode. Obviously, like there's the big, there's the big kind of expressions of it. Cause in the comments, people were saying like the Sundown scene. And that goes to like another thing. We'll talk about the Sundown scene. Cause that's a
Sundown scene.
Sundown scene. Like, whatever. Yeah. Fuck it's like, hold on. It's like Sundown scene.
Thank you. We'll feel better.
Now we're better.
No, I noticed a lot of people mentioning the White House speech.
Oh, the White House speech.
Which even in the book,
God,
so I have been slowly, I'm like halfway through the audiobook. Even in the book, it's such a good scene. And I was listening to it, but it was like, it made me stop and go, when the second he goes, why is the White House white? And I'm like, why is the White House white? And then they're like, because everyone was burned down. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, and then when he
is that I had no idea. That's the thing, huh?
Well, no, that it was that was kind of like their going back to the Watchmen. That was their mini Tulsa moment.
We're all learning.
Where they're kind of like I knew that they had burned the White House, but I didn't know that was specifically why they painted it white. Like I didn't like, which and in the context of the fact that it was built by slaves, obviously built by the slave manpower of slaves, and so yeah, man, just chilling, absolutely chilling.
I liked that Atticus asked his uncle that question, knowing his uncle's a gigantic nerd.
And he would fucking
exactly
know it.
Why.
Yeah, totally. And again, that was more for us than anything else. You know what I mean? Because what would happen was be like he would just go, "I think that they burned this place. We need to get the fuck out of here." But it was a beautiful screenwriting flourish. You know what I mean?
So
like,
good.
and it's it was so great. I mean, and that kind of brings us over to kind of the big players and the other people or the creators that stood out. We're talking about the episode MVPs. The MVPs of the episode. This could be, to me, this could be an actor, crew member, any kind of creative role. It could even be a scene. Like if there was a, if you were to say like James Baldwin was the fucking MVP of this fucking episode, and you could make the case that he was.
Well, he's the MVP of.
He's the MVP
history.
of all life ever, right? 100%.
Yeah,
totally.
Just history in general.
Yeah, right. 100%. So, Dustin, you got yourself an MVP over there, babe?
Yeah, I'm gonna go the built-in shelving at Atticus's dad's house.
Because any good nerd. Like, those are who that dad and that family is. They're a family of fucking nerds, and they know they need shelving.
Well, but there's the whole thing where you were saying his dad didn't like him reading those trashy novels. So the fact that shelving exists there, I got some questions.
No, his dad wanted him to fill it up with literature.
Right. Well, no. Maybe he wanted it to be filled with the type of material and the type of art that he liked, but then he's just throwing all these fucking, all these rags and shit like that in there.
He's reading about John Carter.
Yeah. When Atticus was born, that dad designed that room, being like, my son is going to read all the classics and all the great thinkers. And then he filled it up with trash.
Right.
And also with records. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, my whole house is filled with records everywhere. So I appreciated that emote.
100%. No, I mean, and also, I mean, that is the whole, I'd say the contemporary version of that would be like, I bought my son this new MacBook Pro so he can get ready because he wants to be an artist, and he's just he's just jerking it all over the house. That battery lasts for 21 hours, and he is fucking feeding the geese in every corner of that fucking house, without a doubt.
Feeding the geese. Wow, okay.
You feed the geese.
Throwing ropes.
Oh my god!
No wonder those geese are so upset.
Oh yeah, no, that's why geese are such big assholes, man. Absolutely. But so Morgan, who's your MVP?
I mean, it has to be Blinky, right? I wanted to come up with a thoughtful, really nuanced answer, but when I really think about it, it's Blinky, and I'm going to give the MVP to the type of racism where you're so racist, it gets you stupidly killed. Where, if you're gonna be racist, I don't think anyone should be racist, but if you're gonna be racist, be so racist that it gets you killed by a million-eyed monster.
Or be so racist that you tell on yourself and you lose your job and you ruin your life.
That's also cool.
You know what I mean? I'm down with that too. I'd rather not have it, but if you're gonna be it, tell on yourself and have the world crush you under its fucking foot, for even a weekend. You know what I mean?
Because I was thinking that cop, he was so racist. He was more scared of these traumatized black people in front of him than he was a supernatural. His friend was being turned into a zombie million-eyed monster mole thing. That's less scary,
dude,
than these unarmed black people.
This guy
existing.
Okay, everybody file this away for later, because that guy is going to come into play in another one of our prompts, without a doubt. Because that same guy, he exists in another category that we have a little later down the line, which
all right.
Definitely insofar as my episode, my MVP for this one, also great pick, by the way, Mo. I mean, obviously, give it up for you, dude.
Also, give it up for Paula Fairfield, who did the sound for Blinky.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Right, all the creature effects. She did a bunch of the creature effects and dragon effects for Game of Thrones, and we've hung out with her at cons before. Paula Fairfield, absolute gem of a human being. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I had texted her about it, and I was like, I'm assuming you did Blinky. She's like, yep, did all the Blinkies.
Nice.
Also, she's like, you guys have just buckle up. She's like, it gets way wilder.
I'm certain, right. And this is the fucking show where Jackie Robinson splits a fucking Cthulhu in half in the first fucking minute wilder? And a half. Right. Yeah. It's like, they're just like, yeah, it's like you just, it's like me, a notoriously terrible smoker of weed, and I take 2 hits, and I'm like, man, I'm kind of feeling pretty good right now. And then the guy looks at you, it's like, dude, the fucking high hasn't even started yet. You know what I mean? That's what this shit is all about. You know what I mean? I'd have to say, as far as my episode MVP, I'm gonna kind of go straight to the top, and I got to give it to a one Miss Misha Green, the showrunner, the writer. There she is. There she is. I mean, and it kind of goes back to everything. She wrote the pilot. I think she wrote, at least 80% of the episodes, and have some, or at least a co-writing credit. But insofar as she has been able to kind of like I said before, kind of balance all of these plates and stuff like that, and make this truly amazing kind of stew that they have going on right now is no small feat. You should follow her on Instagram if you can find her. I can't remember the tag, but just look up Misha Green and you'll be able to find her. But she wrote it was this awesome like page to screen thing where she was like the first draft of her handwritten notes of the first scene.
Oh, nice.
To the second typographed, to the third, to the previs, to the storyboard, everything. It was just cool, and like to have that kind of a persistence of vision and to make it slap as hard as it did and as cohesively as it did, is like, again, like you're balancing, drama, comedy, weird, nerdy shit, bunches of different Easter eggs, and you make it like pretty seamless. I think that's, like it doesn't get any better than that.
She's just at Misha Green.
Yeah, right.
On
There you go.
Yeah, on Twitter. So that's the easy.
There you go. Right on. No, 100%. And so, but that's like, and anyone who's followed any of our other coverage, specifically for The Last Dance, that it takes a team to win a championship. It takes a team to put together a truly great piece of work and stuff like that. And one thing that I wanted to talk about was the low-key MVP. This isn't necessarily...
You know what they say, Sean. There's no I in team, but there is a Michael Jordan.
I don't know if we started saying that, but we're saying it now. No, but but there is a Michael Jordan. I love that, D. No, to me, the low-key MVP, we're going to be doing these the same for every episode. And to me, the low-key MVP is, it doesn't necessarily have to be your Scottie Pippen, your number 2. It can be your Dennis Rodman, your kind of wild card that kind of changes up kind of the things like within the dynamic. It can even be a coach, it can be a whatever, but it can be like your 4th or 5th rung down, but just something that stands out to you as a good supporting player in some capacity. Who is your low-key MVP of the episode?
Giving it to Woody.
To Woody? Oh,
Woody
for the fucking
the
truck.
Absolutely,
the car.
Woody
Absolutely.
The car. Also, Woody's like checklist. When they named off all their supplies that they were bringing, like almost all of that checklist comes into play, and is important. Like the flares to keep the monsters away. Like everything.
Right.
That's why I love. That's why I like how it was written, because it was like they set stuff up and then it all pays off at the end.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that little checklist and stuff like that
Woody
they were going through and everything. Yeah, 100%. All right. No, I'm with that. That's a beautiful pick. How about you, D?
I'm gonna go with the low-key MVP being Uncle George's swag.
Okay.
His fucking puss game is
his puss game is off the charts. He loves his wife.
Oh yeah,
he does love his wife. I mean, like he was no. You know what? My low-key MVP was Uncle George too.
Yeah,
but it was very specifically Courtney B. Vance, like the actor. Yeah. You know what I mean? But no, I'm with you 100%. Just insofar as he was my low-key MVP, because him as Uncle George is a really interesting character, as in like, so he's obviously older on in years. He's the author of this travel book for Black citizens that he publishes and stuff like that, and he tries to keep updated and everything. And the interesting thing about his character, other than just being like a lovely, well-rounded, he finger pops his wife again in like the first scene that they're in, and it is like the nicest thing that I've ever seen. Even though when he was giving that hug, I kept
like,
wondering.
Okay, just have the one hand out.
There was like the one hand out, or even just like he could be he could be pitching a tent and like he gives somebody a hug, like, oh, sorry, you know what I mean? Like, sorry.
I was looking for the hug and he's just wiping his hand.
Right.
Atticus's back.
Right. Oh no, like if he hadn't showed up with the baseball bat, he would have been coming out of like, he would have been kind of like wringing his hands out, ever just washing them, you know what I mean, or whatever. But Uncle George,
they should have had a wet ass pussy playing during that scene.
Yeah. I love it. No, but like insofar as like what Uncle George is trying to do, so he is literally like, it's kind of like one of those things where it's kind of like a bit of a generational gap in the way that he has kind of accepted that this is how things are in this world, and he is literally trying to figure out how to safely navigate it, and he's confident in it. He won't let Hippolyta. She asked him if he can go on the road with him earlier in that scene, and he's like, and he kind of poo-poos it, kind of says, no, whatever. And then his fucking book that he works so hard to keep updated, because there ain't no this isn't the age of Yelp. This isn't the age of, it's not updated.
Not the internet,
it's not, right, or whatever. And his book that he told him that he was safe, that he was like, you're going to be safe here. He was betrayed by it. And he potentially, and he couldn't run because of his, he's got the bad knees and stuff like that. And then he calls Hippolyta and he's like, am I going to die being away from my favorite person on planet Earth? You know what I mean? And I thought that was a really subtly sweet scene. And I think Courtney B. Vance, who's just been an absolute fucking like monster of a character actor, like, throughout his entire career. He was Johnny Cochran in the People versus O.J. Simpson. He was magnificent in that. You know what I mean? And so he's just like one of those guys, like, you need somebody to go in and get the job done. And he's just had all the good thing, the things that you need from that character. I thought that he was because I think that there's other MVPs. I think that like, Jonathan Majors and Journey maybe were like a little bit above just because they were so strong and like awesome and fuckable. Like, like they're just so hot, you know what I mean? Like, like they were like, it was just like they was there, but I thought that there was a nice little cold base for like with Uncle George and with Courtney's work and stuff like that I thought was fucking great. You know what I mean? Yeah, totally. So now we're moving on to favorite Easter eggs or little details and stuff like that maybe you noticed on the first watch, or maybe it was illuminated a little later in the week or whatever it is. Like, what do you guys got for all that?
I'm just gonna do one for any of the book readers. It's no spoiler, but like,
right.
For anyone who's like read the book, will know what I'm talking about. Was like on my rewatch, I noticed that when the daughter was drawing her main character in her comic book, she was basing it off a picture, and it's a picture of her mom, and it's her mom posing with a telescope, which is like, Hippolyta's fucking rad as shit, and we'll find out later. But it's just cool. Like, I just love that. I was like, her fucking telescope.
Yeah, there you go. Right, I know.
Fucking nerds, and
fucking nerd, and we say that in the nicest way possible.
Nerd alert.
Nerd alert. All fucking all day.
Nerds who fuck and have children who are also nerds.
Right. They absolutely exist. How about you, D? What are you thinking?
I mean, we've already mentioned most of mine, but like one of the things that they do point out, again, I keep bringing up the podcast because it's such a great thing. But the scene in front of the movie theater where they reenact, they show like the blacks only entrance.
Oh, dude,
and that's a really famous photographer.
Gordon Parks, I think is it. Like here, we'll pull it up. Right, this guy right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like it was like they went in, and there was like, this was during the Baldwin sequence, which we thought was like, which was just like a watershed moment. But yeah, like this was just like very powerful stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, and then there's like, what's the other one? This one, like that one again, like literal, like a straight up recreation, like the show being on the left, and then the actual photo being on the right. And stuff. Yeah, that's a great pick. And that's again, like that's like a sequence that is just like, it's like a watershed. It's one of the top sequences that will be talked about in the show, like long after it's over. Yeah. You know what I mean? Shit. Well, what else do we got? It's like,
I think you were gonna mention we had like our MVP of our YouTube comments.
Yes. Okay.
For the Easter egg.
Yeah, exactly. So this was going to be, this is an MVP of our YouTube comments, and it folds into the best Easter egg. Yeah. So this one goes out to one of our commenters on our reaction video. Goes out to Mr. Stephen Dunn, YouTube commenter. Cheers to you, sir. We salute you for pointing this out, because this was a lovely piece of trivia. So when Atticus goes to inquire about like where his dad went, where he disappeared to, and he goes to the Denmark VZ bar. I don't know if that's exactly how you pronounce VZ, but I mean that's
Vese, I don't know.
Vese, yeah, right, something like that. But hey, we're no strangers to fucking pronouncing shit incorrectly over here. The Airbender community is ready to string us up for how many times we're saying Appa and Saka. But when Atticus is going to the
we know as the L&L, but it's
just the L&L if you're in Chicago. But like the Denmark VZ bar, Denmark VZ was an American descendant of slavery who
But he was like freed in his adult. He was like free, and he was a carpenter.
At 32, he won. He was put up for a lottery, and he had enough money to essentially purchase his own freedom, and he did, which is just like so. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like you have a like the whole idea of like a lottery, and then if you get the lottery, if you don't have the money, sorry guy. Like if you do, maybe you can purchase your freedom. But he purchased his freedom around the age of 32, and then worked as a carpenter. Obviously, you know, took one look around. It was just like, I want, and basically he was alleged to have been the leader of a of a planned like slave revolt in 1822. It would have been the largest slave revolt in history at that point in time. Even though I think that the biggest one that ever happened was in, I believe, the Caribbean, like around that same kind of around that same point in history. But it was foiled because somebody told on him and stuff like that. But like a really amazing, like little, again, never would have. That would have totally went over my head
I like had to like look it up and like learn something. The horror, but actually I've been like reading a bunch of like recaps, and like people have been like doing lists of like call outs.
Shout out to Chance Vassy.
Thank you,
my dear. We appreciate you.
Denmark Vassy.
All right,
but I haven't seen any other places really catch that one, or I don't know, maybe I'm not reading enough, but like, because I was like, oh, like I looked it up and I'm like, oh, no one else really mentioned that one.
That's a factoid that I haven't seen on anything. So shout out to Stephen Dunn.
Yes.
And also from that clip, when you see the L tracks going by, you may hear the L. We're not far from one. So if you ever hear that whooshing sound, that's like we planned it. You know, we just wanted to get it like a 3D immersive experience.
It's an immersive. We're all about immersion over here on fucking in-house Burlington and
That's
watchers.
Our Foley work, you know.
100%.
We're just bringing it in.
Yeah. Well, and also I thought it was a really interesting thing about this though, because of where the VZ or the Vassy bar is located. It's in Chicago, where the L&L is, which is very close to like around Boys Town, between like kind of like it's right between Boys Town and Wrigleyville, basically, right?
Yep.
Which is interesting because he's a closeted queer man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that in the show, I'm assuming this is the South Side, because he said I was like a kid from the South Side.
That's right.
I think that's only for Chicagoans. They're really in Boys Town.
Right, because the L&L, which is the actual bar where they shot that scene in, is in Boys Town. I just thought it was an interesting tidbit that the bar owner was queer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so, But
I'm going to assume based on like his whole, like, oh, I was a kid from the South Side, we don't get to go to space or whatever. It's like, oh, the bar would be in the South Side because his dad would always go there. 100%.
So like, I think, again, shout out to Louise Brooks, rolling in on that, smart chat, it's super chat. Sorry. I don't even know the fucking terms of of YouTube that I'm trying to use or whatever. But shout out to Louise Brooks. Thank you so much.
Ooh,
we
like
appreciate
the silent film star.
Oh, right. Oh, that's right.
She's one of my favorite. So I love Louise Brooks.
There we go. That's incredible. I was like, so now, what was it? Yeah. So that goes to like our favorite kind of Easter eggs, which I thought which obviously there's a shitload of them in this show. The other, like, another kind of just teensy tiny, like, just itty bitty, like, Easter egg I thought that was cute, that was just like the horror nerd, is how almost exactly the cabin that they go into in the woods is the cabin from Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just is.
That's the horror nerds are all like, yup.
No, well, that's like,
don't go in there.
No, right. Like, you're expecting because in the Evil Dead movies, they literally opened the Necronomicon, which which H.P. Lovecraft was the original inventor of, because he is in the public domain.
Oh yeah.
You can use it. So that means potentially that there is like that evil
Ash is gonna pop up.
Evil Dead, and Lovecraft Country could exist within the same universe.
Atticus with a chainsaw arm.
With a chainsaw arm, I'm fucking all here for it.
Give that man. No, actually, give it to Uncle George because I'm worried for him and he needs to protect himself.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like give. Well, obviously, because he's good with a shotgun, so give either Letty or Atticus the shotgun, and then give George the chainsaw because But if for obviously, hopefully, Bruce Campbell would be like an ally, type of a white person, like if he were in this show. But that would happen after this moment. Groovy. That they would cut to some shit like that if they fucking had fucking Bruce in there.
Oh my gosh.
Oh Jesus! You had to get one more for Blinky in there. All right, well, moving right the fuck along. This is probably going to be one where we're going to need Blinky, probably at the end of it. But another one of our other topics that we're going to have every week is That's So 2020. That's So 2020. What are the details, the scenes, moments, what have you, in the show that you think that spoke to you in this moment that we're living in 2020? What do you guys?
I got a good one.
What you got, babe?
It's a scene that could very well still happen today. I'm gonna go with the gas station scene.
Jesus!
All of the white kids, kid with the Buddy Holly glasses, making fun of him and making ape noises at him. There are still cities in this country right now in 2020 that if you were a black person to pull up into that gas station, that could very likely happen. There are parts of Texas that I drive through that I do not feel safe in. Right. As a liberal northerner.
Right.
Because we look a little weird, like having green hair. I feel like, I shouldn't be here.
You start to feel like fucking like Dennis Hopper and Jack Nicholson in Easy Rider in that diner. And like those weird backwards ass fucks are giving him shit. But
I mean, Dustin can butch it up and I can put a hat on and we can infiltrate.
Right. That's right. Like, we can subterfuge it.
We can do it, but...
Right. It's this whole same with like it's like the whole Blue Lives Matter thing. It's like there are no blue lives. If you want to quit, you can quit. Yeah. Like when you're off the clock, you're off. You don't have to worry about anything like that. But like people of color in this country, they never get to hang that coat up.
You don't get a break.
You don't get a break at all. Like so that's a great pick, D. Like how about you, Mo? What you got?
This is it was right off the bat, like immediately when they were like over the bridge and she's like, I don't know, like it's another bridge named after some dead slave owner. And I was just like, here in Chicago, we just got the statues of Columbus taken down.
Which was fucking rad.
Which was rad, and it's been
temporarily.
She says temporarily, but we can help. We can make it not happen.
We can make it not happen. Yeah.
If he goes back up, we'll be back out there.
Right? Yeah, we'll be back. It's like, away with you. Just batting down Christopher Columbus's left and right. You know what I mean?
We got ropes.
Whack-a-mole.
And a bunch of kids with bikes, so it'll be okay.
Fuck yeah, dude.
These kids have been beat the fuck up and they're still coming back, so you're just making them stronger.
Yeah, you just gotta. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's the same thing. It's like any type of pervasive power that's trying to put something. To me, like people that are literally fighting for their lives and fighting for their freedom and fighting for their right to exist safely, they're not going anywhere. And and it's not gonna. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
That was that little
100%.
Nugget of the bridge. I was just like, boom, that's 2020.
100%.
Because that bridge is probably still. I didn't really look up what bridge it was, but I bet it's still named after some dead slave owner.
100%. My That's So 2020 moment. I think it's a scene that you could kind of put in a bunch of different of our categories that we would have. Insofar as because it's another one of the highlights of the episode. I'd say it's in some ways it's the most powerful scene just from a visceral standpoint. But That's So 2020 was the Sundown sequence for me. Now now obviously that's very broad, but to me, what made it so 2020 about it was these fucking bullshit rules that were set in place that you have to that our characters had to walk this razor's edge or be killed. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, and the way that echoes into like something, into today, into this day and age, to me, where it's like this, whenever you get this fucking morons that are like, well, like protest, but do it peacefully. And then a football player takes a knee, but they're just like, but I don't want it in my, it's like, well, he's protesting peacefully and he's not doing anything. And it's the whatever, the flag song, like shows you how patriotic I am.
The flag song.
Song, whatever. Yeah. Like, what? No, the Star Spangled Banner. It's Star Spangled Banner. And it's like, what is that? 90 seconds or something like that. 90 seconds of one guy kneeling. And then you get to have your big orgiastic fucking like sporting event or whatever it is. So do it here, but don't do it here. Well, this is a sundown county, but you got to get out of here. But you can't speed to get out of here.
You know what I'm saying? Like constantly.
It's this MC Escher Kafka-esque nightmare of expectations, danger, and the let's just call it the oppressor's sense of accountability that is coming for you. You know what I mean?
Just look at the whole if you obeyed what the officer was telling you to do, you wouldn't get shot. And then it's like all these fucking white people with their no mask protests where literally people who work at the state house are like, put on your masks, you need to leave. And they have guns in their face.
Yep.
The protesters have guns.
Yep. 100%.
But that's those people
exercising their rights. You know what I mean?
If they got shot, it'd be a big fucking problem. All the militias in America would lose their shit.
Steve,
right? Yeah.
No,
it's
Steve.
The whole thing.
Yeah. No. Like Steve Bannon has people that are being like, well, it's the deep state that's out to get him, and it's the whatever. But then you have some kids very recently from Evergreen who had a murderer on Chicago's Southwest Side that there was a bunch of looting. They're mad at this guy, but not this guy who's like this guy gets a pass. These people have to be made accountable and made a fucking example of. And that was what was so 2020 to me about the Sundown sequence was this razor's edge that you have to walk for an insane person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was even on the podcast, the writer wrote the absurdity of racism and the rules that there's no way to do it logically, but at least the monsters have rules. Shine a light, the monster dies.
It goes away.
And it follows the rule. The monster's not the first time I die, but now you have to shine the light and do a 2-3 twirls in the air. The monster will just die if you shine light on it.
100%. Or it'll at least go away. You light some flares. You take your poor fucking Uncle George and you throw him in front of the fucking headlights and shit like that. They will go away. This other thing. This ties into my Lovecraft connection, which is the next thing that we're going to be talking about. So another one of the things that we got is, even though this sounds so weird, what's the rainbow connection? What's the Lovecraft connection? Whatever. But the Lovecraft connection, which I think has been interesting in the way that I think there are some hardcore Lovecraft fans that might become disillusioned by the show because it's not, it's maybe not, we'll see, obviously, but I think it's kind of more very liberally kind of taking from the iconography of Lovecraft, not we're going to do a straight up absolute by the book Shoggoth, which the Shoggoths in Blinky in the show is not a classic Shoggoth. Shoggoth is kind of like a big weird writhing gelatinous kind of Jabba the Hutt looking motherfucker with no arms, no nothing, no legs, no nothing. But it just absorbs. It's like the Blob with eyes, basically. And so they didn't do that. They did this kind of roided up Venom symbiote. Yeah, right. I mean, so where did you guys find, what was an interesting Lovecraft connection that you guys had with this episode, if you had any?
Well, there's a part with Uncle George talking to Atticus about how in the story, like he says a line that basically saying like you can enjoy the story but not have to deal with the horribleness of the author. And so it's kind of that's corollary to Lovecraft himself. It's like you can enjoy Lovecraft's work even though he is a racist.
Yeah.
Which is a very powerful moment, coming out of, somebody earlier was like, oh, wow, you guys mentioned the Huxtables. Well, yeah, like the Huxtables were a massive thing. If you grew up in the 80s, you watched The Cosby Show.
Yeah.
It was inextricable. You could not extract that from the public discourse of like
the zeitgeist of the era and of the day.
Everybody watched that show.
Uh-huh.
And there's going to be now a generation of people now that it's kind of dropped out of syndication.
Yeah.
It's hard to rewatch that, but at a certain point, maybe down the line,
when he dies,
we'll be able to watch that show,
right? Oh God,
and enjoy the show for the show.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the idea of it is, and so I think that's something that people of color have had to deal with for a long time. Is like, well, we live in a country that is founded by racists, but we still love our country. We're still Americans.
Yeah,
and
we still care about it. We want it to be better. We expect more out of it. You know what I mean?
They enjoy sci-fi, mostly made by white men that want bad things for them.
Yeah,
but they still enjoy the stories.
Right,
they like adventures. And
you got
the same thing that just in general, women also go through, but not as much as if I was a black woman, it's a whole nother thing. But it's loving things that don't really love you.
Oh man.
And that's kind of the thesis of a lot of this is just the things that you love might not, I think this might even be from Lindy West wrote an essay about this where it was just about Howard Stern and stuff, how she was a big Stern person.
Sure.
But she knew as a larger person who was a woman, he would fucking hate her and it would be a nightmare to get interviewed by him. That it was just you can take things that are cultural touchstones, and not only do they spark your own imagination or inform your humor or inform your own what's in your brain, and how you fit in the world, and then but sometimes they're going to be written by imperfect people because
and that's sort of, and that's kind of the decision that you got to wrestle with and you have to kind of figure out. It's because I know that there are some people. I was talking with one of the great humans in my life, Von Seal Cruz, my high school English teacher, who I'm still friends with to this day. She lives up in Minnesota, and she's just she unlocked my brain. I was I was a beast walking around on two legs, and she was just listen, there's a whole world, you could be doing a lot better things, and thinking about a lot better things, and truly changed me. You know what I mean? One of the thing that education educators is all about. You know what I mean? But she was talking about, I was talking with her, and she was just I hate that piece of shit Woody Allen. I still like Annie Hall. Annie Stalls. I can't. But she goes, I can't watch Manhattan though anymore.
Yeah.
Because there's a plot element in Manhattan that is just too fucking right there. So exactly. And so it's one of those things where I think that. It is.
Yeah, we keep Annie Hall because that character's so important to so many people.
And Diane Keaton is so incredible in it. There's so many things.
Or we keep for Cosby Show. Come on, Felicia Rashad.
Felicia Rashad. That's who you watch. That's who you watch in that fucking
Claire
show.
Huxtable. I'm keeping her.
Absolutely, 100%.
What about Theo?
And
I love
everybody.
Theo.
No, literally.
I love Rudy. Who's that actress? Not a fan of hers.
Oh.
She grew up to be a little bit right-wingy.
Oh yeah, no, we got a little Stacey Dash type of action. Little Stacey Dash. Little dash of fucking Fox News right there. No, I think that's a really, that's a great point. Yeah, and obviously I think it's one of those things where it's that's something that you have to wrestle with, and whatever you're willing to do, if it's something that's the piece of the thing can speak to you. It doesn't mean that you have to embrace the totality of the things that made it. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like
And
Atticus said, it's like stories are like people.
Mm-hmm.
You just
100%.
cherish them.
Yeah, maybe you cherish or remember the things that are important to you, and you can kind of leave some of the other stuff aside, or at least be aware of it, and then and make a note of it, and then you can move forward. You know what I mean? My Lovecraft connection, I think, was okay. So it's this interesting. To me, it was one of the most, because clearly that is like a halfway mark. When the Baldwin scene, when the Baldwin montage and the passing through of this Midwest that is now super dangerous and stuff like that. And we have that Gordon Parks montage, right? Mm-hmm. He's talking about insanity and reality. And everything, and like all those things. It's like where it's like the system deems this person to be insane for fighting against the identity that we have placed upon him or her, right? Mm-hmm. What is Lovecraft? What are all of Lovecraft's monsters about? Or what do they do to you when you experience their in their fullest expression?
They warp your reality.
They warp your reality, and you go insane.
Go nuts.
And Baldwin is talking about how this system, so it's like, and it's the thing where it's like Lovecraft, his characters had to get millions of dollars together, get all of these different, all of these fucking like planes, and travel to the Arctic, travel to the ends of the fucking earth to find these horrors that would drive them crazy. Like, it's almost like they are literally at the top of the food chain of the fucking white patriarchy in the late 1800s, and they have to travel to lose their minds. Whereas when Atticus, when Letty, when Uncle George, when Hippolyta, when they walk into a different neighborhood, when they drive through a different town, their entire reality is driving them insane. Is vexing on them. And I thought that was such just insofar as far as like how Lovecraft kind of deals with his monsters driving them insane and the real world monsters I just thought it was that was a correlation that I couldn't get out of my head.
That makes me think of like Lovecraft versus do you ever read Invisible Man?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, so that's like a horror novel, but it's really just a black man describing reality.
Yep.
But it's insane, and it's like a Kafka novel where it's just like, and so like it's like, wow, a black American can just explain their experience, and it's a horror novel of insanity from like myself as like a white person reading it. I'm like, what? But it's also like it's by design to like get you in his head. So I'm like, wow, it's like, but Lovecraft had to go. No,
his like Lovecraft's monsters, because obviously famously ardent racist, was worried about the purity of the white race and everything like that, like kind of a fan of Hitler when he was a young up and coming fucking whatever and shit like that.
You don't say.
No, he was.
He married a Jewish woman.
Right, which is like which is hilarious. I mean, like, but like in darkest way possible, but like he had to strive. So all of his monsters are imagined, and the monsters of this show are down the fucking street.
Yeah.
Or like literally right next to you.
Right. Yeah. That's right. Right. Exactly. Or literally like a peace officer that is supposedly designed to protect you. And again, that's shit. That's so 2020 moment right there. But that was so 2020. That was my Lovecraft connection that I thought was cool, was how the Baldwin thing kind of connected to his idea of insanity and stuff. We're coming up on the last couple of things. Thank you everybody for sticking with us. We got ourselves one super chat. Thank you so much for that, Louise Brooks. If anybody wants to come in, it's going towards Molasses Chicago. It's one of the best not-for-profits in the city. So we appreciate you, Louise Brooks. Thank you so much.
Louise said that Lovecraft is a spitting image of Zuckerberg.
He fucking is. He is. They are both weird lizard people. Like,
oh no.
Weird lizard people, like building like building a castle of riches and horror that we all kind of, well, except for, at the very least, like nobody was like, not like 80% of the fucking world wasn't reading at the Mountains of Madness. Like 80% of the population is on Facebook, or I don't know. It's something like, what is it, like 2-3 billion right now or something like that? Like a third of every human being on the planet Earth is on Facebook. Read by that, like that's run by that weird fucker, that lizard person.
One thing I will say about this show is that it engaged me enough that like I sought out more material to kind of learn some of the references.
100%.
And in preparation for next week's episode, the writers suggested reading a poem by Ricky Laurentis from a compilation called Boy with Thorn. I actually just bought the whole poem, the whole book.
Oh, nice!
It's excellent. It's only 104 pages, so it's not like massive.
I thought you were saying it was $100. I was like, holy
no, it's
shit!
only $100 because I'm balling out of control here in quarantine.
You know what I mean? Yeah, we be balling in the time of COVID, right?
Yeah. The poem is called "Conditions for a Southern Gothic," and
okay.
So there's a line in there that she recommends taking to heart in preparation for the next episode. So
interesting.
So I was like, you know what? Like I haven't read a good poetry book in a while, so I bought it, and it's a stunning piece. And honestly,
awesome!
It's definitely like a really it's fairly modern. I mean, it's from like 2014.
Sure.
But it's a real monumental piece of work. So it's nice that this piece of work inspired me to deal with other pieces of work.
Ain't that how it ought to be?
Yeah.
Ain't that how it ought to happen? You know what I mean? Like it becomes like this cool. That's what again. We'll see what happens with this show. It's an amazing first episode. I have confidence because Misha was so. They have the book, which is a great which is like a great bedrock, and then Misha has like written or been involved with the writing of almost every episode. So I feel like it's going to be a cohesive piece and stuff like that.
I think she wrote the screenplay or teleplays for all of them, and then 2 of them were based off of like the story was written by some, but like she wrote the actual screenplay. Totally. Which is pretty impressive though. She's
absolutely.
Very hands-on.
So like again, we're at the coming up to tail end. We got two more categories to go in. I think we're gonna have some fun with these. A little more fun than we have with some of the other topics over here. But we got ourselves the fucking Karen of the week.
Oh,
Karen of the episode, Karen of this week of this episode.
I am gonna give my Karen to not like I'm gonna kill you, gun in your face, racist, but I'm gonna give my Karen to that little fucker, that little who's pissing in his pants because black people want to eat at a diner.
Oh, the diner guy.
Oh, the weird little who went and
piece
called.
of shit. Because he did it. He could have just.
Yeah, I mean, well,
burgers.
No. But what that is, yeah, he could have just served him and whatever. But yeah, it's the same thing. It's like that Central Park thing with that gal started getting on the phone.
That phone is a gun.
That phone is a fucking gun, like in the hands of a fucking white person calling the fucking police and stuff like that. And so, yeah, that's a Karen move. That's
classic Karen move because he wouldn't say shit to their face.
Of course. Yeah.
He wouldn't say shit to their face. He went by like a little twerp, coward he is, and called up real racist people.
Right.
Well, he's real racist, but like actual like I'm gonna make it known.
He's
that's
not
another weird conundrum. I think a lot about like if you had lived in Nazi Germany and you were like the whole regime is telling you this one thing is that if you serve these people, you will also die. And so, he is working at this diner for a boss that's like, if his boss had found out that he had served black people in his diner,
he would have lost his job.
He would have definitely.
Yeah.
And what I would have done? I'm in that situation.
Lost your job.
No, because I'm a coward. But I'm not going to call people. I would just like leave out the fire exit. And then later, if my boss asked me, I'd be like, "Oh, they said they'd kill me. Sure."
Right.
Like I wouldn't be, because I'm a coward. I'm not a revolutionary. I'm not acting like if I was in 1950s, I would have gotten the gun and I would have shot the fireman.
That's what everybody on the fucking
no.
internet says. That's what everybody.
I would have pieced out the fire exit and hid under my fucking bed.
100%.
Because
I mean,
I'm a
like,
coward.
there you
but
go.
I wouldn't call anyone.
You wouldn't fucking call anyone. Absolutely, 100%.
I hope I wouldn't.
Yeah, right. How about you? How about you, D?
I mean, that was my answer.
Was that one of yours?
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
That's your Karen.
My Karen for this one goes back to one of your picks from before, Morgan.
Yeah.
The fucking dipshit Worcester fucking sergeant from Worcester County who is so idiotic and also so much of a coward in his own right, and so his mind is so clouded that he's literally going to watch as his whatever his chief or whatever the sheriff or whatever the fuck is whoever he was, the sheriff, I believe he's the sheriff, is turning into a fucking a walking multi-eyed vampire Cthulhu Shoggoth fucking venom venom can't not do it like horror show. And instead of just doing what's supposed to be again, and that goes back to the low-key MVP Courtney B. Vance, his delivery, you need to shoot him.
Oh, I love that.
Well, it was one of those that was kind of pulling the pin out of the absolute avalanche of stress that whole sequence was kind of putting you under. A well-timed joke in that thing is amazing, and he did it incredibly. But he was the Karen of the week, and then he gets his fucking jaw ripped out of his fucking face, and it was just he got again, it's some fucking dipshit lady shows up to a fucking Black Lives Matter protest or whatever, says some shit and somebody's recording it, and she gets fired from her fucking her pet boy's job or whatever the fuck it is that she's doing and shit like that.
What? How did that happen?
What do you mean? What's happening? Blah 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 or whatever. And then
cancel culture,
man. Yeah, right. They'll cancel somebody for anything these days. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he was kind of like my Karen, because I think obviously the truest blue MVP Karen was that motherfucker from the day.
because he was
100%.
so sure of what he was doing
right.
when he was fucking with Atticus, and he was had such a hard on for what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to go to that swinging dick, you say this thing, and then also ask me to do a U-turn, to being a sniveling little ripped off jaw motherfucker.
Right. And
you love to see it.
Yeah, and you love to see it. Yeah, and just the fact that he is such that, because that guy who gets his fucking face ripped off is in the moment is just freezing. Is there's a moment of thing and just and not understandably he's seeing something that ain't nobody ever seen before, but fuck you, I'm so glad you're dead. You know what I mean? It was great. It's just no, it's just when I have no sympathy for people that can't that don't cut the mustard in that way. All right, so the final thing, and it's looking towards next week, that we got going on here is who or what to watch on this next episode. Who you got your eye on? I feel like we all are kind of, I think there's citizen number one, you know what I mean? They were saying, but who do you guys got? Who are you guys thinking about? Who are you keeping an eye on?
I'm keeping an eye on Uncle George because I'm worried. Because he can't run.
Oh man.
I know they won't do anything to our beloved Uncle George. I hope not. Or maybe they would. I don't know. But Jesus. It's he can't run. His knees are bad.
How about you, D?
I'm gonna say, I don't know if we actually have gotten her name yet, but the woman that saved them in the
that Targaryen Karen.
Yeah,
that fucking
Targaryen.
The Fury
Carinius.
The Fury wife, the Fury wife, the Fury Karen.
Yeah.
But also I call that actress Samara Roby or Margot Weaving.
Yeah.
Margot Weaving. No, she does have it. You're absolutely right. She does have that. There was
this thing on Twitter where it's all these actresses with the same face. I think Olivia Wilde, Samara Weaving, and what is it, Margot Robbie? They
Right.
all kind of have the same face, even
Totally.
though I enjoy a lot of their acting.
Yeah, of course.
I think they're good actresses, but they do all have the same face.
But whoever the casting agents are in fucking Tinseltown, they got a fucking type.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's the same way with like what was it Zoe Deschanel, like Katy Perry, and like there's a handful of others where you're just like you're the same.
Yeah, who's
you're the same person.
Jessica Jones.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
What's her
totally.
name? She's
100%.
up in there. Throw her in there. Throw her on the pile.
She's all up. Throw her on the pile.
I think we're calling them the House Targaryens.
The Targaryen. Put it up, write it in the sky, and gossamer teardrop.
Thank you, Chance, for that.
Thank you, Chance. That's
you got the spelling. I was like, how are we going to spell this?
How are we going to say it? Now we got it. Now we know. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. That is chef's kiss. Yeah.
We're going to call it, instead of fire and blood, mayo and managers. I don't know.
We'll workshop it for the next fucking reaction. We'll workshop it for the next reaction. That's exactly who I'm checking out, though. Honestly, is the Targaryens. The Targaryens are now I like because it's one of those things because they saved them, but
come on, look at them. Look at their styling.
Dude, I mean, like, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's one of those things. And obviously, even if you do a heroic deed, as HBO has taught us with the OG Targaryens, you can't trust 7 months worth of decent deeds, some good deeds, some bad deeds, but you can't trust 7 seasons of heroics to not have that shit blow up in your face, especially when it's the fucking albino twins, folks, and shit like that. I mean, like, well, because the thing was, now this is something that is just in my brain. This is informed by nothing, but it was just the point of history that we're in kind of speaks to what I think the trajectory of these Artem people are going to bring to us. So it's like 1952, 53, right?
Yeah.
57 is kind of like the watermark when rock and roll broke, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When white rock and roll broke, because white rock and roll didn't exist. Before that, it was rhythm and blues. Like that was just what it was called. And the first song, the song that I'm sorry, I forget the Ruby. She's singing she's singing Tall Skinny Papa by Sister Rosetta Thorpe.
Yep.
And who is one of is one of the seeds of rock and roll, of R&B, like of how we kind of know it as rhythm and blues that eventually became rock and roll. Like what I think that these fucking these Targaryens want to do is like they want to bring him in and they want to they want to use the family to further themselves in their design. The same way that
this whole plot is to get at Ruby and steal her music?
No. I'm talking about like in the scenario
to give it to Elvis.
No. I'm speaking more in the sense of
white people
of appropriation
coming in
appropriation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like she's like a She's like a Kardashian's like, oh, I like that. That's mine. Oh, I like that. That's mine. You know what I mean? Like, which is like what a lot of white artists have done with black art for fucking ages. And so that was just, again, I don't think that that's literally anything that but it was that scenario kind of, that's what I think their fucking angle is. You know what I'm saying?
They need something from the family because it's all about, what is it? He was like, oh, your dad was obsessed with your mom's ancestry. Yeah. And it's clearly from the trailer. It's some sort of cult or something.
There's some, they need them for like a key, like the thing, we need to get something from you to help us to further our designs on our empire or whatever and shit like that. Well, shit. I think I think that comes down to it. I think that was a pretty fucking thorough, thanks. You guys got any closing thoughts or anything like that you guys want to?
I just want a final blinky.
A final blinky? Okay, I got one better for you. Okay,
what?
Because this is something that we can kind of do every week. We'll talk about it and shout out to anybody anybody that watches this and is in the comments. If you think that there is a slow-mo moment where we take a clip and we slow it down to 10% and dissect it, because I had to do this for Blinky just because it was such a beautiful scene.
Okay.
So we're gonna call this like a sportscaster because this was really the mechanics of this kill are so great. So we'll get a slow-mo Blinky and then we'll get him for posterity. So what was amazing about this scene is the fact that this boy's got hops.
He's hopping like Arya onto the Night King.
Totally.
Insane.
And like I gotta say, like hand-eye coordination on point because he gets that, but then his smaller arms
go right through the chest.
Right through the chest, which I thought was just
he goes up.
Amazing.
Well, because he's anchoring his bite, because humans are very chewy.
And then the shotgun goes off in a fucking, this is like one of the best fucking head explosions since Scanners, and I fucking absolutely am here for it in every way.
Like
but then
blood dripping off the other guy's gun.
Exactly, it's so great. And then Jonathan Major's face, he's just like, obviously Journey's screaming, like getting like her horror scream on.
He's been in war. He's seen this shit. Well, this shit, but
no. With him, he just he did like that white guy surprise gif where he was just like, oh.
Oh, he's just like stuff going in his head.
Maybe a little bit bigger. Maybe a little bit bigger than that. But he's just like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, so that was a slow-mo moment. If you guys have one, let me know. We'll fucking do this every fucking week if you guys want to. And it can be for the gnarliest or the coolest shit that you think of. But just for one more posterity's sake, just because he's one of our favorites, let's bring him back for one more. Yeah! You love...
Blinky is an ally.
Blinky is a fucking ally to beat the band, and we're all...
He was probably the nicest white person.
Oh, shit,
Technically, I think Blinky's kind of Caucasian. He's pretty pale, doesn't like the sun.
Do you think that Blinky... Do you think that all of... I mean, like, because it obviously could...
Oh, are they all like zombies? They're all started off people?
All of them were people, and all of them were bitten?
I hope so, because that makes it... It's like... You're kind of atoning for your sins there.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, he was like... But that's what he was saying. He goes like, I work. It's like, I have a lot of black friends at my work. Boom. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he was doing.
You know what? Maybe it was the little kid from the diner, and now he's redeemed himself in my eyes.
There you go.
He got
it's possible. It's possible.
2 scenes earlier.
It's absolutely possible.
He's like, I'm sorry, I dropped the dime on you.
Right. It's like, yeah.
This guy's head.
Let me make this guy's head. It was just such a lovely, like, Rube Goldberg, like, mousetrap fucking, like, Final Destination. Like, you punch through this guy's chest, he squeezes the trigger to sit, like, as his body seizes up, and it blows the head off of another cop. I mean, like, that's a 2-for-1.
Whew.
This guy's got to be great at fucking Call of Duty or something like that. Well, anyway,
I do want to say one thing. I did see a little bit on Twitter of people not debating. Somebody had like posed the thing like the ethics of killing is a Skaga, whatever it is, Blinkies, because they were human. So should you try and cure them first? And I'm like, yeah, you turn them back into the racist cop, and then you shoot the racist cop in the head. That's the ethics of killing these things,
right? Oh my God.
That's it. That's all I had to say.
That's what you got. That's my story, and I'm sick, and I'm sticking to it. Well, shit, man. I gotta say. So, I will say, insofar as our we went a little long. I think we might try to like lean it down for the next one. But we appreciate everybody who's been hanging on the stream. We love you guys. We appreciate. I mean, you guys do so much for. I mean, like as far as commenters, just helping us along and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like I just feel very thankful that we have. Like I mean, like we know how to spell Starkarian now. Like we know how to fucking
really appreciate
like I mean, like that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like so, I love it. But just so everybody knows, we did have one. We had one super chat. Thank you so much for everything, and that was the silent actress. What was her name again? Louise Brooks. Thank you so much to Louise Brooks. Thank you so much, my dear. We appreciate you very much for that. Like that's just going straight to molasses. We're not going to split the thing.
Chuck it to molasses.
That's just going to molasses and stuff like that. They get all the money, but we appreciate you. Your money is going to an amazing cause over here in Chicago, and we appreciate you so much. For everybody out there that wants to do this every week, because who knows? A lot of us are fucking stuck inside, can't do nothing. Every Thursday at 7, we started at 8. This one just so we could all be together, because I know that we had some other things going on a little bit before this, because we kind of, like we said before, we sort of just like, we got to do one. Like, let's figure out when we can do it. But every Thursday from here on out until the end of the show at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, you can come on over and you can hang us talking about Lovecraft Country, all the season 1 spoilers. If you ain't seen the episode, don't fucking come around here. Let me tell you. You know what I mean? Like,
if spoil it,
because we're gonna slow down moments and show big gore Evil Dead kills and shit. Apparently,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, if it has to do with Blinky, it's happening every time. But every Thursday, we're doing Lovecraft Country Thursdays. All throughout this entire season. We thank you guys so much for everything. We appreciate y'all so much. Be sure to check us out. If you want to get a bunch of our exclusive content, head on over to patreon.com/JohnTankTop. You get the full uncut reactions of all of these shows and plus a bunch of others and shit like that. If you're a big Avatar fan, if you're a Last Dance fan, if you're a Mandalorian fan, if you're a fucking The Boys fan, which is going to be coming up on season 2 in September, which I'm super excited about. So be sure to hit us over there. Give us a little bit of support. We appreciate all y'all, and we will see you guys later. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate you. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you guys next time. Later, y'all.